Hi, this is Monica Packer, and you're listening to About Progress, where we are about progress made practical. If you had told me 10 years ago, heck, even 6 years ago, that I would call myself a habit person, I would think you were totally crazy. Because for years, I thought habits was synonymous with perfection. And obviously, I knew that being perfect was something I could not be. But it was also something I didn't really want to be either. And in my pursuit of trying to not ride that all or nothing roller coaster wave of perfectionism, I also avoided habits because I thought that's for someone else. That's for a type A, diligent, super willpower kind of person. And that's not me anymore. And maybe it's not who I will ever be. I started About Progress more out of a pursuit for me to figure out who I was again outside of perfectionism. And while I did that, thanks to my original Do Something list, helped me explore who I am. A few years into this experiment of choosing progress over perfection, I hit a surprising plateau. And it wasn't that I didn't know who I was again. I was better than I had ever been in that area of my life. That was very clear for me. I knew better than ever who I was, what mattered to me, what I liked, what I didn't like, what I valued, what I needed in my life, and things that would help me feel like myself. So it wasn't that I didn't know myself. It was that that self wasn't being supported in my day-to-day life. This was very apparent to me thanks to sleep, especially. I don't know if you've heard this story before, but I'll quickly share it. When I was pregnant with my fourth child, my dear friend and amazing photographer, Bailey Van Wagner, she took our family's photos, and they were beautiful. I loved them, and I still cherish them to this day. A year later, we took family photos again. Our baby by that point was six-ish months old, I believe, 7 months old. And I was so excited to get pictures as a family, especially given all that my baby had been through. He'd been through some pretty hard things with his health, and he was doing well now. And when I got those pictures back, they were also beautiful, and I treasured them, and I still do to this day. But there was something so glaringly different between those two sets of family photos. And it was that I looked many, many, many years older within just that 1 year span of time. And I knew it wasn't the baby's fault. He was sleeping just fine. The real problem was me. I did not have the supportive habits I needed in order to be someone who was actually sleeping regularly well. So I guess you could say vanity was one of the reasons that I decided I needed to figure out this whole habit thing. Fast forward now over 7 years later, and I can tell you that I am a habit person. And it's not because I believe habits help me be perfect. It's because habits help me be myself. Because myself is supported in my day-to-day life by the way I treat myself, by the way I prioritize myself and take care of myself, I'm able to show up as that self to my responsibilities, to my people, to my work, to my home. If you feel that you tend to think of habits as balls and chains, that maybe you are subservient to your habits, I want to offer you a quick analogy that may help you change the way you view habits, and in doing so, change the way you could potentially see yourself as a habit person. We easily think of habits as almost prisons, right? Things that are keeping us bound by their prescriptions, by the maxims we have to meet. And since those are so clearly defined, we are stuck behind them. Instead, what if you were to think of habits as a net? A net that not only lifts you up and supports you, but also catches you when you fall, that it enables you to be yourself. That's an analogy I came up with when interviewing Jess Massey about day planning, a habit that I've definitely loved to get back into. But it applies to all habits in general. Habits are not prisons, they are nets. So in that spirit, I want to share with you 5 habits that are helping me show up right now in the season I am in. And some of these habits may be more stereotypical in terms of they're more productivity based, but others are less traditional. They're more about fun and creativity and bringing back in some margins to my life. And in sharing about mine, I hope that it can give you the boost to reconsider how habits can act as a net to your life and how habits can support you to be the person you both need and want to be, and that maybe that includes you being a habit person. I'll share those 5 habits coming up after a quick break for our sponsors. This episode is sponsored by Air Doctor. Americans spend an average of 90% of their time indoors, but did you know that the indoor air we breathe can be up to 100 times more polluted than outdoor air? I think a lot of you are coming around to that fact because I've gotten more and more messages asking what air purifier I have and if I'd recommend it. And the answer is Air Doctor, and yes, I 100% would recommend it. You can breathe easy with Air Doctor, the award-winning air purifier that eliminates 99.99% of dangerous contaminants like allergens, viruses, smoke, gases, mold spores, and more. One of my sons was recently diagnosed with more indoor allergies, and the doctor was relieved to hear we already have an air purifier. You can top that off with lots of smog days in our beautiful Salt Lake Valley, and I can tell you that the relief I have is high, both emotionally and physically, that Air Doctor is in my home. Air Doctor was voted Best Air Purifier by Newsweek, so it's no surprise that 98% of Air Doctor customers agree. Their home's air feels cleaner, safer, and healthier, and the Packer family is one of those happy customers. Unlike other purifiers, Air Doctor captures invisible particles 100 times smaller than standard HEPA filters. Head to airdoctorpro.com and use promo code MONICA to get up to $300 off today. Air Doctor comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee plus a 3-year warranty and $84 value free. Get this exclusive podcast-only offer now at airdoctorpro.com. That's airdoctorpro.com using promo code MONICA. If you're looking to take better care of yourself in ways both deep and practical, you can't do so consistently without both doable and dependable habits in place. You may think you know what it takes to create a habit that sticks, but if you've been struggling with some to most of your habits, then I want you to consider that maybe you've had the wrong methods all along. Right now, it's open enrollment for the Sticky Habit Intensive, my 21-day live course, challenge, and community designed to help busy women form habits that stick. With the intensive, you'll not only learn my sticky habit method, one designed, tested, and proven for real women leading real lives. You'll also work on one habit of your choosing, all with my personal support and that of a small community of like-minded women doing the exact same thing. Sign up by February 21st to access this special bonus, 1 free buddy pass. Hello, extra accountability. Past participants have worked on habits from exercising to journaling to meal planning to reading. But even more than that, they've worked on something deeper, their identity. It turns out when you're able to change the way you do habits, you're also able to change the way you see yourself. Join us before the doors close on February 21st by signing up at aboutprogress.com/intensive. If you're listening to this episode later and the doors are closed, you can sign up for the waitlist for our next intensive at that same link. Again, that's aboutprogress.com/intensive. Before I share these 5 habits, let me just paint the picture of what life looks like right now. I believe most of you know I've got 5 kids, ages 12 to 2. I work part-time from home. And as part of that, I typically work about, it depends on which day of the week, because I have a babysitter come now. We just started on her. It's our second week. On the days the babysitter comes, which are Monday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, I have 5 hours to work in total. She comes for 2.5 hours, and then I can watch the baby monitor while he sleeps and work during nap time. And then on my other days of the week, Tuesdays and Fridays, I typically work 2 or 3 hours split between nap time and bedtime at night. Otherwise, I'm doing all the home stuff that you do with raising a family, taking care of the kids, cleaning up all the time, sweeping up crumbs constantly, ensuring people are where they need to be when, signing people up for sports, communicating with teachers, cooking, yada, yada, yada. We're all doing that. And so, with that scene in mind, I will also tell you I've taken on more clients this winter semester, and it's been so rewarding to do so. So, my work hours are pretty defined by mostly working with clients. And so that means I'm still trying to get a lot of work done in a very limited amount of time outside of those coaching hours. So, with that all being said, I know that my year for 2025 is about trying to figure out how to better balance my responsibilities at home and at work with myself, of having more margin in my life, of making more time to rest and to feel more restored. So the habits I'm going to share with you kind of meet both. And the latter part of me building up more margin is still a work in progress. It's so early on in the year. We just started that childcare arrangement for me that is sure to help a lot. But there are more plans coming in place to build up even more margin. And I can tell you right now, I know in my soul that creativity needs to be more part of my regular life. So the idea setting list is really creative based this year. And I know that one of the coming habits I would like to work on as things kind of shift around home and life, that I can then have that built in habit of time to create. So I just wanted to share that now because I'm not there. I haven't arrived yet and I never will. As we have learned, if you listened to last week's episode with Sharon McMahon, we never arrive. And that's something I have loved learning about over the years. But I want to embody that for you, that I'm a work in progress. And this is what is helping me right now. But I also have my eyes on the future. When I forgot to mention one more thing about this season right now, I have been writing a book. This is something that has been on my list forever. And I knew this was finally my year to prioritize it. Other years, I thought I would, and it just wasn't the right time. And I put that on the back burner. But now it's on the front burner. And because of that, my habits have had to shift a bit. And also because of childcare, my habits have had to shift a bit. So, with that lay of the land, let's now share two of the five. We'll do a quick break and I'll share the other three after, of what is helping me show up right now. The first has to do with my new writing regularly habit. Now, I've always written for content, for the podcast, for social media. Writing a book is a totally different ballgame. I have to tell you, I have been surprising myself by how much I've been loving it. There's definitely resistance. There's definitely self-doubt, imposter syndrome. There are days where I don't feel like writing because I'm scared of not doing a good job, of people not wanting to read it. I'm scared of it never being published, whatever. But I have a baseline of writing for 15 minutes a day. And the way I'm doing that is first thing in the morning. Now, with my life right now, I already gave you the lay of the land. That is best done if I'm waking up at 5 a.m., which I'm so happy to tell you that I've been doing as this big reformed night owl. I have to tell you what a victory it is. And if you've been with me over the years, know it's taken years for me to work up to that. In September of 2024, I did a similar episode from the series of sharing some habits that were helping me show up. And I talked about how I've been working on inching up my wake up time and my bedtime. And I have inched my way slowly down to that 5 o'clock hour. And it has been imperative to me prioritizing this goal, but also being able to feel like I'm showing up to my life in terms of my responsibilities and myself. So what I tend to do is at 5 a.m., I wake up, put on my workout clothes, get my special water bottle filled with Element. I really love that stuff. They are a podcast sponsor, but I truly use it every day. Then I go upstairs. Now, when I originally was setting out this habit of writing every day, I knew I wanted to make it really comfy, cozy, to try to make it something that I would desire to do, like with my subconscious, that it would feel good. So in the beginning of the year, the very beginning of the year, what I did is I'd make myself a cup of tea and I would sit in my living room in front of the fire with a cozy blanket and then I would type and type. But I found that 15 minutes would help me get started, but I often would write for like an hour and sometimes 2 hours. And then all of a sudden my morning would be gone and I wouldn't have worked out, which I love to do and need to do. I would have to work out a little bit later. Or I'd do a baseline version of my workout. And it just was kind of throwing things off, actually. It was making me too comfy. So instead, and here's the habit that is helping me show up lately, I walk while I write. I have a treadmill that is not fancy. We got it from a local refurbished store. There's a Soul warehouse locally in Salt Lake for those who are interested where you can get a good deal on some great equipment. So I have that treadmill. What I did is I just took a table leaf from another table that we weren't using and I put it on the armrests. I also had to put some bungee cords around it to make sure that the table insert wasn't pressing down on the buttons that are on the armrest to go faster to raise the incline. So it rests on the armrest with those little cushions that go in between. And then I have a little laptop stand that I put on top of it, and my laptop's there. And one of the reasons that helps is because if I do get caught up in the momentum of writing, and let's say I spend my whole morning before the kids get up writing, it's okay because I'm still getting in some movement. It also is something that just gets me moving in general that I really like. But there's one part of this habit too that helps it feel more like a feel good thing. And this is called pairing, where you pair a blah task with a yay feeling. So on those days where, like today, I got on my treadmill, I opened my laptop, and I suddenly had that fear feeling, or I don't want to do this feeling, I told myself 15 minutes of writing. And I often set a timer on my Apple Watch, so I know that. But here's the key that I do. I don't open anything else on my browsers. I don't open anything on my phone besides opening Spotify and getting on a cozy acoustic playlist, maybe the Pride and Prejudice soundtrack, the Outlander soundtracks, anything like that that is more instrumental and soft. And once I press play on the music, it's like my brain automatically knows it's time to work. So even if I just do the 15 minutes, it feels so good. And what I typically do is I write for like an hour. If mentally I can only do 15 minutes or even practically only 15 minutes, I do that. And then I do other work for an hour, and then I stop around 6:15. And then this is how I've alternated my workout. I now need to do, I tend to break up my workouts. If you've heard my episode on how I've worked out from home exclusively for years, you'll learn more about breaking up your workouts, which by the way is revolutionary for a lot of people. But I need to break that up less because I have a babysitter coming at 10 a.m. and I have a house to clean and a toddler to play with and all those morning things that need to happen, getting my kids to school, all that kind of stuff. So because of that, I'm in a season now where I do need to try to make sure my workout is more clumped together. So that's why I like have that strict cutoff time of 6 to 6:15. And I'm either rowing on my rower for like 10 or 15 minutes, or I'm doing a 20 or 30-minute bike ride. I use the Peloton app, but my cheap Amazon bike. And then I try to do my strength training all before the kids get up, which is usually between 20 to 30, sometimes 40 minutes long, depending on the workout I have that day. And if I was able to get off at 6 or 6:15. So it's pretty flexible. But doing my workout different has been one of the habit shifts I've made. But if I'm going to share the actual habit that's helping me show up lately, it's walking while riding. And I love it. Didn't need to get one of those walking pads, and it's working really well for me. The next habit I want to share with you has to do with what I do the night before to ensure that I can get up earlier. This is not rocket science. I know you've heard me talk about this before, but mornings start the night before. And because I know that, I knew that in order for me to prioritize getting up at 5 a.m., I need to be in bed as close to 9 as possible so that I can physically fall asleep between 9:30 and 10. One of the ways that this happens best is the habit I'm going to share with you, getting ready for bed as early as possible. I have a pretty intensive skincare routine, and it's mostly because I have FOMO when it comes to skincare. So, because that requires a decent amount of energy to do, and I can procrastinate it because it takes time and energy. So, here's what I'm doing to ensure that I'm getting ready for bed earlier so I avoid sitting down on the couch or getting lost in home productivity tasks and then getting ready for bed later and getting to bed later. What I do is, as soon as me or Brad put the baby down and we've said goodnight to the other kids, I go right into my room and get on my pajamas and start my skincare. And one of the sacrifices of this is that I'm not watching shows as much any night anymore. And it's just my season. I don't think this will be forever. That's been one of my prized habits is watching Netflix with Brad. But I'm not in that season right now, and that's okay. It's all part of that bigger goal that I've got right now to write, and that has to be done early in the morning. So what I've been doing is getting in my pajamas and going right into skincare right away. And this means I'm typically starting my whole getting ready for bed around 8:15 to 8:30. And I usually am getting in bed around 9ish. It's not perfect. So like last night, I don't think I was actually in bed till 9:30. but I fall asleep pretty quickly thanks to being tired. I sleep really well, and it's weird. I've been waking up at 5 and I haven't been feeling as exhausted, which surprised me because I definitely am one of those people that I prefer to have 8 hours of sleep. But anyway, I'm just sleeping better too, which is cool. So getting ready for bed earlier helps. Now I want to give you one quick tip. I already talked about how pairing music with my morning writing helps me write better. I have another pairing trick that I do to help me have that yay feeling when I'm doing my blah task of doing skincare. And it's YouTube. I love to set my phone up on this little ledge we have above our bathroom vanity, and I play some of my favorite YouTube channels, which can be Cecilia. I can't remember her last name, but she lives in Svalbard. It's like one of the most northern cities in the world. Really fascinating life. And then the other one I love is how to renovate a chateau. It's like a French chateau that this couple is renovating, and architecture digest videos or baking videos. I just or masterclass actually. I've been using that app better, which is nice. So I set up one of those things, and it tricks me into doing my whole skincare routine and it not feeling like such a chore. And then it also helps me wind down in other ways. So I can then plug in my phone, not on my nightstand. By the way, that has been key. Plug in my watch, not on my nightstand, by the way, also key. Move into my journaling and then, prayer and reading before I go to bed. And that's when I can fall asleep quick, unless I'm feeling really anxious, which does happen too occasionally. By the way, one more trick to helping me get up early is I plug my watch, like I said, across the room. The alarm is on my watch. So I am forced to stand up and go turn it off. And I try to do so quickly so I don't wake up Brad, who tends to wake up around the same time as me, but usually about 15 minutes later than I do. So that's another trick that helps me. But the real habit I wanted to share with you that is helping me show up right now is getting ready for bed early, very early in the night. I'm going to share 3 more habits, and one of them is super fun, and 2 of them are like game changers that I wish I had started earlier, coming up after a quick break for our sponsors. This episode is proudly sponsored by LolaVie, an award-winning hair care line founded by the ever fabulous and ever iconic Jennifer Aniston. You know that feeling when you have a really great hair day? You feel like you're unstoppable, maybe more charismatic, you can't stop touching your hair. I've been having more of those kind of good hair days, and that's exactly why Jennifer Aniston set out to create LolaVie, to bottle up all those good feelings. Now, with the new year, it's time for you to experience those new feelings by prioritizing taking care of yourself in this simple way, having great hair care products. LolaVie's lineup consists of clean, plant-powered products designed for every hair type and texture, so you can have silky, shiny hair without sacrificing hair health. This award-winning brand is powered by their naturally derived peptide bond builder known as B-Pro3 bond technology. It's derived from chia seeds and clinically proven to prevent, protect, and repair signs of aging and damage on hair. It combats the damage right where it starts, guarding against dryness and breakage while delivering high-performance results. I have been a big fan of the restorative shampoo and conditioner, and I've been a big fan of all of the styling products, from the glossing detangler to the air-dry cream, and so much more. You can unlock Jennifer Aniston-approved hair at lolavie.com and celebrate the new year with stronger, healthier hair. As our loyal listeners, you'll get an exclusive 15% off your entire order when you use the code PROGRESS at checkout. That's 15% off your order at lolavie.com with promo code PROGRESS. Please note that you can only use one promo code per order, and discounts can't be combined. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Your hair will thank you. One of the long-standing things that has connected us as a community is the Do Something list. The first one I ever made way back in 2016 totally changed my life and actually led to this podcast. And I have heard from hundreds of women over the years from the About Progress community that the Do Something list has changed their lives too. What is it? Well, it's a way for you to prioritize your own fulfillment, to explore who you are, and all outside the pressures of goals and resolutions. If you're ready to have more hobbies, to have more creativity, to have more fun, or rest, or connection, this year, whatever it is, make sure you make your own do something list. To help you, I have a free training that is ready for you online right now. Go to aboutprogress.com/DSL and you can sign up for my free training, which includes a video and audio workshop, resources, including a guide and examples of so many DSLs from real women of this community. Again, go to aboutprogress.com/DSL to get your free training. Habits I've shared so far are walking while writing and getting ready for bed early. The next one I want to share with you is a work in progress one. If you don't know this, for my supporters club, I am doing a reading challenge this year for myself, and people are invited to join me. And it's called the Read the Shelf Challenge. If you're watching this on video, you'll see a whole bottom shelf of books here that are part of my Read the Shelf Challenge. And the whole push is to read the books that I have bought and had on my to be read shelf forever. And as part of that, that means I need to read more physical books than I have been accustomed to. I love reading via audiobook and Kindle. I still do that all the time. But it's just this gentle push to prioritize reading physical books in ways that feel like me, not because of anything better. Like it's not better to read a physical book, but I have them and I want to read them. So to prioritize that. So what has been helping me do that is to fit in reading in the cracks. So what I'm going to share with you is not necessarily one specific habit, but it's reading when there's a small opportunity. For me, that's been reading after school. Right now, my kids don't have a ton of after school sports, but that will be changing in the spring for sure. So I'm taking advantage of a couple days a week. We don't have as much going on. So when they get home from school, instead of like doing all the things, I check in with them and then they see me sit on the couch and read. That doesn't happen every day, but that's one of the cracks. Another place that I've been putting in reading is after dinner, our family, after they all get showered and ready for bed, one of our rewards is we watch a show together, usually like a 20 or 30-minute show. And I'm not typically interested in what they all want to watch. It's usually something Star Wars related or Bluey. So I can just still sit with them and read then. And of course, at bed, what helps me fall asleep at night is turning off my lamp and reading my Kindle. But before I do that, I just read my physical book for even if it's 5 or 10 minutes. So that's kind of the work in progress habit. And it leads to the new habit I want to install that goes with that. And I want to start stopping work a little bit later now that I have some childcare, a few mornings a week. This is something I want to prioritize before my first grader gets home at 2:30, maybe me stopping work at 2 and reading for half an hour. Now, in all transparency, as I'm recording this, it's 1:59 p.m. And I'm looking at that and realizing, not going to meet that today, but I can still read with him when we get home, when he gets home. And maybe that's my baseline as we read together because I need to read to him. And then after we can sit on the couch and read together. So that's the one I'm thinking about doing to help boost that reading time so that I can work towards my challenge of reading the shelf. And if you want to follow along with that challenge, make sure you sign up for the Supporters Club. So that habit was reading in the cracks of my day. The next habit is about cars. Confession. I have always been terrible about maintaining our cars. Now, I'm not talking about oil change, although that's been a problem too, and we've paid for it dearly, so I've learned the hard way. More about regularly washing the car and cleaning it out. And one of the reasons why, probably the biggest reason why this has been something I've never been good at, is because our car is disgusting. Because we have so many children. And it's one of those lower priority things for me that I would love to have a clean car, but I just thought it takes too much time. And that's because it was. If I was waiting to wash and vacuum out the car every 3 months, if we were lucky, if we're being honest, it took like an hour or more to do. But I put on my big girl panties about a month and a half ago, and thanks to a car wash deal going on. You know how they have those monthly subscriptions? Well, ours was like half off for 3 months. And I thought, well, maybe now is the time. And I'm going to try this for reals. Because once we got our used but new to us car back in 2022, fall of 2022, I did start to wash our car more regularly. And I was like, oh, I do like this. Like, wow, it's nice. But then I just gradually slipped into my old habits of not doing it as often. But once I got this car membership, it was incentive for me to use it more often. And I've been doing that. And Here's what's fun about it though. Is for a while I was just doing it on my own, just Fridays after dropping the kids off to school, I'd go to the car wash nearby and wash it and vacuum it out. And I found out if you do it regularly, guess how much time it takes? For me, it takes less than 12 minutes, start to finish. Like going through the car wash included vacuuming out the whole car, wiping some things down inside. Like it's not detailed, but it's so much cleaner. And it's actually so much easier than I ever thought. Like, who knew if you clean something more regularly, it's easy to clean? I know it's like a no debt, but I'm finally catching on. One of the things that has helped make this funner is we have been now doing it on Mondays. That's one of the days that my kids don't have something right after school, which is so nice because we tend to many more other days of the week. So instead of going home after I pick them up from school, we just go right to the car wash and they love it because this particular car wash has a soda fountain that's free for members. So they all help me vacuum out the car, wipe things down on the inside outside, and they get a little soda to go. And they love it. I'm not just saying that. And I love it. So it's like kind of like the two birds with one stone, teaching them how to do a chore, not having to do it all myself, and we get to have a little bit of fun. So that has been a game changer, honestly. I just feel like, Monica, you could have figured this out earlier, but you're doing it now. So for me, it's a habit that is helping me show up right now is washing and cleaning out the car weekly. The next and final habit I want to share with you involves a pressure point for myself personally. It's something that I have carried around with me in ways that I have long felt I really need to prioritize this. We need to really prioritize this as a family, but I don't know how because it's so overwhelming. And that's being more on top of our finances. Now, I've worked a long time on shifting my relationship with money, and it's still also a work in progress. But there are bigger things that we need to figure out as a family, like consolidating some retirement funds we have, planning out a will and planning out our estate, which sounds so richy sounding, but it's not. It's just like what should happen to us if one of us dies or we both do. I mean, God forbid, but things like that have just been weighing on me. Also, like, hey, are we saving enough for college? Like, hey, are we saving enough for retirement? And I have carried around this worry over it for years. Now, last year in 2024, Fearless Finance was a sponsor and we got the first session free. We paid for a second session and we're about to pay for a third. Meeting with my financial advisor. By the way, can't recommend them enough. They're not a sponsor anymore. And I wish they would be at some point in the future because it was fantastic. I love it so much. It not only gave us the information we needed, it gave us steps we need to take. So the pressure got released a little bit, but I still felt that burden of, okay, now we got to follow through. We got to read through all the stuff that she sent us, which was so helpful, but also it's still overwhelming. And I feel like so at a loss on how to do this. And so what we decided to do, Brad and I, is to do financial meetings on Sunday afternoons. We are typically a non-confrontational couple. So sitting down and talking about finances is not really fun for anybody. I don't think it necessarily needs to lead to confrontation. And that's not what I'm saying would happen to us, but it just is like one of those, oh, don't want to do it kind of things for us because you just have to like talk about money, not fun, and like actually do things about it, also not fun. So the way we've been making this work better for us is we literally set a timer for 15 minutes. The first Sunday we did this, it was like I had this whole burden lift off my shoulders that I didn't fully recognize how heavy it was just to even talk through it. And all we were doing was I printed out the emails our financial advisor sent us from Fearless Finance, and we went through one paragraph that first 15 minutes. And even reading through it and getting some clarity on where our money is going right now and our typical budgeting was like a relief. And then the other Sunday, then we talked about, okay, here's we got to get information on what you're withholding for retirement and if we can make it this number, and that's it. And so it's not only helping us move through some pretty big information and a pretty long list of tasks in ways that feel more manageable, it's also making that pressure valve continue to release. And for me and for Brad too, to feel more confident in where we're heading financially for our family to ensure that we're saving enough for these 5 kids. And my gosh, eggs are so expensive right now. I just need eggs, right? But that is definitely a motivator to figuring out the big picture too. So financial meetings on Sundays is the last habit I wanted to share with you that's helping me show up right now. As a quick recap, those habits were walking while writing, getting ready for bed early, reading in the cracks of my day, washing and cleaning out the car weekly, and financial meetings on Sundays. And again, with full transparency, the finance one, we are just 2 weeks into it, and we missed the third week because it was Super Bowl Sunday, and that's okay. Remember, consistency is doing your best most of the time over time, and the target you're trying to hit is more times than not, and that is what we are doing with all of these habits. I hope this episode gave you the hug and kick in the pants you need to grow. There are no progress pointers for this episode. There is a do something challenge though, and that is that you choose one habit that will help you show up right now and to figure out a way to do it so that is more doable and feels more rewarding in and of itself. So maybe you can pair, like I've been doing many of these habits, pair a blah task with a yay feeling somehow, or make it more doable, have a baseline in mind to help you do it. I would love to hear about how this challenge goes for you. You can email me at hello@aboutprogress.com, or you can also message me on Instagram at aboutprogress. I'd love to hear. And before we go, I would love to invite you to work on the habit of your choosing with me in a community of like-minded women who are learning about flexible habit formation. It's all coming up in my Sticky Habit Intensive. The doors actually close later this week on Friday, February 21st. If you sign up, you not only get access to 21 days of a live course with me with weekly lessons and coaching calls, you also get the community of women that include accountability and motivation and fun, and you get the challenge to work on the habit too. So by the end of the challenge, not only will you have the habit that you want, you'll also know how to make habits for years to come. One more bonus is a free buddy pass. So you and a friend can split the cost if you prefer, or you can invite a friend in and just know that you are ensuring that you have that built-in accountability. You can check it all out at aboutprogress.com/intensive. And if the time has passed and you are hearing this later, there should be a waitlist for the next. To be honest, I may only host one intensive this year because the fall may be devoted to all things book. We will see though, but I'm sure I will host something like this in the future because I can't quit it. I just really love helping a smaller group of women learn how to do habits differently and to form one in ways that stick and change the way they see themselves in the process. This show is listener supported. Members of the Supporters Club get access to 3 levels of exclusive benefits for more time to more content with me. My favorite benefit is more personal, my private premium always ad-free show. I talked earlier about my new Read the Shelf challenge, and I share about how I'm doing with that the first episode of each month in my book report series episode. If you liked following along with the books I was reading on Instagram in the past, then you are going to absolutely love that series, as well as the private reading diary that go to all supporters. So there's so many amazing benefits. I'd love for you to check it out at aboutprogress.com/support. You can always support the show for free. Keep listening. Make sure you subscribe or have followed the show. Share it with a friend. Leave a rating and review. Any of those things are truly vital to the continuation of About Progress. Thank you so much for listening. Now go and do something with what you learned today.